my name is Dave Persons, and I'm pastor at the Wayside Presbyterian Church here in Hamburg, New York. It says in the early church writings, in the Gospel of Mark, that Jesus began to teach them many things using parables. He said to them, "Listen, a sower went out to sow." How many of you have ever grown a garden or are growing a garden? Many of us do. We've been growing gardens all our lives. My wife grew up in a family where they grew gardens. I did. We've had gardens most of our married life. We have, well, I guess it isn't a garden now. They're what are called plots. We have a tomato plot and we have a squash plot. We just like to eat fresh tomatoes, fresh squash, fresh vegetables that we grow ourselves. So Jesus is talking about growing, about a sower that goes out to plant seeds. It's a parable. Parable in the Aramaic word that it comes from simply means like an allegory. Parts of the story point elsewhere to someplace else with a different kind of meaning. So in reflecting on this parable, what might it mean? One of the things that puzzles me with this story is, this parable, is that it says the sower went out and just began to sow seeds randomly, seemingly careless about where they fell, whether they produced or not. Interesting. When I plant, when I've had planted, we like good seeds. We like good soil. Once when we first got married, I planted some carrots in a field that had been used for other grains and other crops. I was so disappointed that they hardly matured at all. Someone said, well, it was the wrong soil for planting carrots there. They needed something else. Oh. So a good planter, a good sower of seeds, isn't he careful? Why was this one careless? Well, when it comes to planting seeds of love, seeds of kindness, and seeds of forgiveness, it doesn't really matter whom we encounter or whom we meet. As the Course in Miracles says, every encounter is a holy encounter. So whether they accept our kindness, our forgiveness, our love, that's really no matter. It's up to us as the sower to make sure that we are sowing seeds of kindness. The Apostle Paul wrote that he planted and others watered, but it's always the Spirit, the God, who gives the increase. So it doesn't make any difference if we think we find people who will be great workers in the vineyard, who will produce fruit for the church or not. We love and express kindness and compassion to everyone. Sometimes we completely misjudge people. They come in like gangbusters and they want to serve on committees and boards and give their gifts readily. But then almost as quickly they just leave. So we just forgive them. We still love them. We don't choose who comes and leaves. Sometimes people come in and I think, well, they'll never stay. They don't look interested. And they stay here all my years, and they'll probably be here for years after I leave. So we really aren't good judge of the soils of people's hearts. Only God knows that. In the East, while I was walking along some rural roads in northern India, it was interesting to me that people would meet me and clasp their hands over their heart and bow and say, Namaste. Namaste, I learned, was the greeting which goes like, the divinity in me salutes the divinity in you. The God in me recognizes the God in you. Now, whether you admit it or not, I confess it. I believe it. So the question isn't really about where are we sowing the seeds. The question is about in the heart of the sower. Am I walking the talk? How do I deal with thorns? How do I deal with rejection? Am I a loving and forgiving person that can grow in spite of times of drought, times of choking? Yes, I have to learn my own self to walk the talk. And then if people come by and are right, so be it. And if not, well, that's okay too. It's God that gives the increase. The results then are up to God for how we're sowing. Everybody, I believe, has divinity within them. But not everybody chooses to recognize it, to follow it. That doesn't mean that I don't seek to encourage it. In fact, I believe that we may live many lifetimes before we awaken to it. It's our choice. We can choose our forms, we can choose our curriculum, but in the end, the choice is always to recognize that we've never left our home. If God is eternal, time and space are relative, just little blips on the screen of eternity, then God can be pretty patient with us. The teaching of reincarnation was a quite common one in the church for the first 6 or 7 centuries until it was finally banned. But I always have found that somewhat comforting in recent years. God is so patient. We can go through this dream hundreds of times until we finally awaken to who we really are. And so I don't feel that I have to change you. I don't have to change anybody. I have to attend to the garden in my own heart, to be a good planter, to be a consistent bearer of seed. And when not, practice forgiveness on myself as I forgive you. So in that sense, I can say the race is over. We're all winners. We're all there. And it's just a matter of our choosing when we will recognize that we are eternally one with God. So the sower went forth to sow. And some, the seeds just disintegrated. Some sprouted for a short time. But some that seemed to choose, that were ready for it, it said they manifested yields which were 30, 60, 100-fold. It is said that an average farmer in those days, if he got an 8-fold increase, that was really good. A 30, 60, 100-fold increase, it's speaking about that which is eternal. When we awaken to those seeds in our minds and hearts and those reminders of the Spirit, that we are eternal, we're one with God, that we are perfection forever, it's like 100-fold increase on this often pitiful life that we find ourselves living. So let it go. Be joyful. Be at peace. And be a good seed. May God bless you. And again, this is Pastor Dave Persons from the Wayside Presbyterian Church in Hamburg, bidding you God's peace and love wherever you go.